When Lou Ottens and his team invented the compact cassette back in the early 1960s, they probably never imagined how long the format would persist and how ubiquitous it would become in music and home recording. Before it became the format of choice for recording music, it was a simple dictation device, a mono recorder good for recording speech, and that was about it. Let's take a look today at this early compact cassette recorder, the Realistic CTR-11.
Now, I think when most people think of a cassette deck, they probably don't think of something like this. They probably think of the nice decks that we would have in our home hi-fi, you know, that type of thing, something they listen to music on, or maybe a Walkman or a portable cassette deck. But this is really where it all started. Now, this Realistic CTR-11, from what I can find, is from the very, very late 60s, maybe 67, 68, from what I can tell. And it was purely designed as a dictation device, something that you could hook up the little mic that came with it, record something, speak into it. Some people actually, during like the Vietnam War, would actually record letters back and forth to their soldiers overseas with them. You know, family that were across country, and executives would use these to record dictation for their secretaries. So, you know, nothing that was really designed for music. Although I'm sure that quite a few of these microphones were held up to a transistor radio speaker at the time, but that's not really what they were designed for. You know, the interesting thing about these is that Radio Shack, Realistic specifically, continued making these for decades after this one was designed. In fact, I've got this one here, which is a Radio Shack model from probably the late 90s or even early 2000s. Still the same concept. It's a mono recorder that was used basically for dictation or voice. So it's a format that persisted. You know, this was happening all the way through the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s, that people were still using devices like this. So I thought it was kind of neat. I picked this one up during a flea market hi-fi episode recently for just a few dollars, and I figured it was too neat to pass up. I really wanted to take a look at it and see just on the outside how, you know, how the technology changed over time. And really, it didn't change a whole lot. If we look at the outside of it, it's a 4-button model. It has rewind and fast forward, which also double as the stop on it, which is kind of interesting. No separate stop button. Record and play. It also has a rotary volume control, and if you notice, it's an auto level on this as well. There's no adjusting the record level on this one as you're recording. It does it automatically. But if we look around the outside of it, it's pretty simple. It has a single speaker on the top. On the front, you do have the plug-in for the microphone, and the microphone does have an on and off feature, which actually pauses the deck while you're recording, so you can stop it and restart it from here, which is kind of neat. It has an earphone and an auxiliary on it as well. So very Spartan, very utilitarian. There's not a whole lot to it. It's a manual. There's no automatic ejecting or anything like that, no auto stop. And as far as tape loading goes, that's it. You put the tape in, you pull the tape out. Now, if we look at the inside of it, it's definitely a mono head in here. It's just a mono record and playback head and an erase head. There's nothing in here for selecting different tape formulations, anything like that. It was just making sure that the protect notch on the top of the cassette was still in there so it could record, and that was it. So kind of just a neat old machine that, you know, I figured as part of a piece of cassette recording history was something that was just really neat to find. So really short video for this week. I'm still kind of in the middle of cleaning up from the big flood that we had here at the studio a few weeks ago. So trying to keep it simple and go through stuff and make sure it's still good. And this one ended up being okay. So, do you remember using this type of a recorder when you were younger? I know I have memories of using these as a child and as a teenager. Not necessarily this one, it would have been a little bit earlier than this, but I think folks that were probably born in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe 80s have had some kind of interaction with this kind of a cassette deck. I did a video a long time ago. It's one of my old ones. I'll leave a link for it above, calling this, these kind of the workhorse of the compact cassette. So if you get a chance, watch that old video. Just bear with the quality and everything. It was a long time ago. But do you remember using one of these? What are your thoughts? I know with mine, I recorded it up to the radio and did kind of radio dramas with friends and things like that with them, and we just had a good time. And I know I'm not the only one. So let me know your experiences with this below. What do you remember? And I love hearing from you guys down in the comments. So that's all I have for this week. Stay tuned for some bigger and better stuff coming up. Like I said, I just wanted to keep it simple this week since I've got everything going on with the cleanup. But until next time, I want to wish you all happy listening.